Welcome to the finale, everyone. Unintelligible mumbling from ahead of the bed stirs me out of my sleep. With my eyes still closed, I can focus and make out someone, presumably a nurse, bidding farewell to a doctor. As I open my eyes, I notice the door closing in my peripheral vision. The doctor stands ready, reading some notes off a clipboard held in his hand, carefully looking over the pages. After consulting his obviously very important documents, he looks up and notices my gaze. It's now that I notice something slightly odd about his expression and general disposition, but I can't quite put my finger on it. "Ah, I see you're awake, Mr. Nakai." His quick glance to my bed end to verify my name shows that his documents obviously didn't have it written on them. "I must admit, this is a bit unfortunate. Your parents visited just earlier while you were asleep. I could notify them you're awake now if you'd like." Thanks. That would be good." I give a somewhat dazed reply, most likely the one he'd expect, before really thinking about what I'm saying. "Not a problem. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, I'll be happy to answer them. That is, unless you'd prefer to rest. The anesthetic's still going to be affecting you a bit, I'm afraid." The anesthetic? Of course. That'd be why I felt so strange the first time I woke up. I slowly shake my head, but not wanting to dislodge any pipes or cause myself any more discomfort than necessary. The doctor politely puts down his clipboard in response. "I guess my main question is, what exactly happened?" To put it simply, you unfortunately had another heart attack. While not as severe as your first, you were very lucky it occurred so close to a hospital. After being stabilized, you were taken to the operating room. That followed was keyhole surgery in order to insert a temporary pacemaker. All in all, the incident happened 2 days ago, with emergency treatment being carried out very soon afterward. Since then, we've kept you under close observation while you were asleep." Jesus. Will I be alright? Are there any lasting problems? Compared to the procedure carried out for your first heart attack, this was relatively minor. While you will have to undergo surgery once more in a few days, time to remove the pacemaker, assuming there is no complications, there should be no lasting implications. He continues talking, the subject shifting to a repetition of facts about arrhythmia and my medication that I already know for the most part. I start to nod and feign interest while my mind drifts. I begin to think about how perfectly hung the inoffensive painting hanging on the wall behind his shoulder is, and how neat and sterile the surroundings are, even including the doctor himself. "If my mumbling bores you, you are quite welcome to say so, Mr. Nakai. Lord knows I lost track of myself sometimes." Gives a short chuckle at his self-deprecating joke, as I grimace awkwardly, having been rather badly caught out. The doctor chuckles sounds different from that of the nurse at Yumaku, though. Come to think of it, as I ponder why, I realize that the man in front of me feels just a little bit off. His smile is neat and sterile. He delivers his little joke perfectly with a customary inoffensive chuckle. It is like, rather than talking to the man whose name is neatly printed on the name tag pinned to his lab coat, I am merely interacting with an actor reading off a pre-rehearsed script, every action having been choreographed beforehand. I suppose he has to be this way, though, being a doctor. He has to keep his neat and sterile smile while chatting to the girl with cancer slowly spreading through her body, when reassuring the woman who will surely die from childbirth, and with every other terminally and critically ill patient. God, it's like Hasao has reverted back into his old self. Jesus, that little bit of distance, that little bit of aloofness. It makes me wonder if I've been too harsh, especially considering the disposition far from being adopted only by people in his profession. After all, the one I loved kept that same distance from others herself. Looking up to the doctor again, I realize I've been in thought with my head bowed for some time. I understand that you must still be tired. You've been through a lot, and as I mentioned before, the anesthetic would still be affecting you. If you don't mind, I'll let you get some rest and tell your parents you've woken up for you. I think that would be good, thank you. I give him a curt nod before picking up his clipboard and making his way to the large white door in the corner of the room, closing it behind him with a thud. In the end, I'm alone again. Lily's gone, Akira's gone, Hanako would be traveling, and even my parents have already left the hospital. 4 pale peach walls, 1 white ceiling, and a single open window to look out towards the world outside. It's hard to think of the future when the past is crowded around you, claustrophobic in its neat, sterile, starchy, bleach-smelling grip. Lost for what to do or focus on, I content myself with sleeping the time away, as if this were all just another dream like Yamako would have been. White. A sterile, clean white. Clean white for a sterile, clean room. That's... what? I'ma call on that sentence. A sterile. Clean white for a sterile, clean room. Yeah. Boo-boo. Bad sentence. My eyes open. I simply stare at the ceiling for some time. It's about as interesting as the television would be, mounted in its metal rack hanging off the ceiling ahead of the bed. Indeed, the television saw its entire use during the time my parents were here, left on quietly as they waited for me to wake. It was about as banal as it has been for the first time I ended up in the hospital. Earlier today, an attending nurse had offered to turn off the EKG's speakers. I refused simply because the sound is so entirely normal to me now. It's almost comforting in a way. The metronome-like regularity gives at least some feeling that time is moving, even in a place such as this. After some time of listening to its beeping, while I fully awaken, though, I realize there's another sound in the room. Concentrating all my effort on listening, a task made rather easy by the lack of distractions, a teeny melody can be heard. It's the music box. Light and quiet, the music sounds almost fragile, as it dwarfed by the EKG's pulses. Tilting my head to just slightly to the side in an effort to see the source of the melody without dislodging any of the sensors and pipes stuck onto me, I noticed a little wooden box sitting on the nightstand next to the bed. My mouth opens just slightly as I silently watch the tiny yellow metal drum slowly rotating inside, the little bumps on its surface gradually moving in and out of sight. This music box. It's the one I gave. The creaking of the door breaks me out of my reverie, my head and heart remaining still as my eyes turn to see who's come through. Long tan skirt, peach off-the-shoulder sweater, pale, almost porcelain skin, blue clouded eyes, and long yellow hair. All I can do is stare as Lily slowly walks into the room, her fingers lightly running over the walls for orientation, and my mind comes to a shuddering halt. Lily? She stops mid-stride, her entire body tensing. Hasao? Was that you? Her voice is quiet and pensive, echoing her expression. I thought you were... Lily takes one tentative step forward, then another, as if she were holding herself back. Her control over her composure is for naught, though, and she finally rushes over to where I lay as the last of her resistance falls. I'm slightly taken aback when she grabs hold of me, hunching over as tears begin to fall from her cheeks, since only minutes ago I thought she was on the other side of the world. After a moment of hesitation, I rest my right hand on her soft shoulder. Asao. Lily's body trembling as her tears blot the pale green sheets, her emotions flooding through her carefully maintained exterior. With her face now closer, and made easier to see for her pale skin being lit by the sunlight from the window, I notice her cheeks being redder than they should be. It's okay, Lily. I'm okay. You don't need to... She writes herself... God, I'm just fucking gonna yell at him now. Now who's getting a fucking heart attack? She's gonna give you one now. She writes herself quickly, her cry forcibly stifled, for with both sadness and stubbornness remaining in her moistened eyes, her prideful nature, always having been something to contend with, takes me off guard. Stop telling me not to worry about you, Hasao. Just this once, let me cry. I'm caught speechless. She waits for a response, but her composure breaks again after a handful of seconds. I swallow hard to try and settle my own emotions while she weeps onto the bed. A strange mixture of relief and depression welling up. Lily's here. She's really here. If I couldn't feel her skin under my hands, I'd hardly believe my own eyes. My efforts weren't for nothing. My body's attempt to take away everything that was important to me once again has been foiled. But now, I don't feel as happy about it as I thought I would. Seeing her here crying like this over me, this is the one thing I'd wanted to avoid since coming to love her. No, even since leaving the hospital. I'm sorry, Lily. It's my fault I'm here. I shouldn't have tried to push myself so far. I give a self-deprecating snort. After months of keeping myself together so nobody'd worried about me, I went and did something like this. I guess I'm pretty dumb. With a couple of sniffs and a long breath, Lily manages to pull herself together and calm down a little. Despite her red cheeks, moist eyes, and the lines of her tears still visible, she delicately wears that weak smile she seems to so often give. You needn't blame yourself. I heard later that it happened as you were running down the road after me, right? Still. She wipes her eyes with the back of her hand, returning more to her old self as the rush of emotions wears off. Why did you run after me, Hasao? I moved to respond, but noticed her face tightening. Even after I said goodbye, and I left Yamaku Academy. She takes a moment to steady herself, her emotions almost bubbling up once again. I just wanted to say that I'm sorry. Sorry? For the times when I wasn't there when you needed me. Until now, I thought just being there would be enough. I only needed you by my side to make any day feel better. Even if my body may be like this, I want to help you, Lily. To be there when you need someone. But you always were there, Hasao. Why did you want to go to Scotland, Lily? Why? I told you before. Because Akira was going. And because of my family's summons to their home. Why didn't you say that you wanted to go? I'm not stubborn often, but this one time I think I need to be. I want you to stay here, Lily. I want you to stay where everyone you know lives and where all your dreams and ambitions were made. If you choose to stay, I'll never leave your side. I won't let you lose another person. When I had my heart attack, I was snatched away from everyone and everywhere. I knew. You showed me a new life after I came to Yamaku. I lost my past, but you showed me a future. It's true. that I haven't always been there for you. I'm unreliable, sometimes I lied, and I thought I'd come to understand you when I hadn't even understood myself. Be that as it may, I want to give you a future as well, and I want to be there for you, to share both your burdens and your happiness, just like I promised back in Hokkaido. I want you to trust me. I know I had problems coming to put my trust in you, after losing so many people I'd known after my heart attack, but that's how I know that being unable to trust others can feel awful. That's why I can't watch you just throw everything away like this. I never want you to go through what I did. I would do anything to stop that. You can be quite steadfast when you want to be, can't you? As I said, it isn't often. My weak smile drops, though, as the IV in my arm digs in a little. It's a harsh reminder of my tether to my condition. Lily's face tenses as I let out a small gasp of pain, immediately making me wish I had stifled it better. All I can do is sigh in defeat. I tried to not let anyone worry about me for the entire time since I left the hospital, but I can't even stop the one person I love most from crying over me. Even if I might finally be able to put my feelings into words, I feel pretty useless with a body like this. Every time I tried to reach towards something, it was just snatched away, and even now things only turned out for the better due to luck. I guess that's something else I should apologize for. All I can ever do is make you worry. Even now, there's very little chance I'll live anywhere near a full life. The feeling of Lily's warm, soft hand moving over my left cheek makes me lift my head up, her smile gentle and warm as she touches me. I think that it is something very natural for you to say. You were always so sincere and self-conscious. You are also reserved and mild-mannered, and patient to a fault with Hanako, yet curious about everything and everyone. When I said I missed you while I was with my family, I wasn't lying or exaggerating. The thought of you was never far from my mind, and helped me through that time. That's why I was so confused about what to do when my family summoned me. Even after I thought I had made my decision, you tried your hardest to challenge me about it. I didn't confess to you out of pity or believing that you were somehow different from what you are. I confessed because I never wanted to lose you, and I wanted you to always be a part of my life, no matter what might happen or change. You're a very beautiful person, Asao. Your heart changes none of that, so please, don't apologize for yourself anymore. For a long time, silence reigns in the room. I'm not really sure what this newly born feeling inside of me is, but it pales into insignificance as I wordlessly gaze at Lily's smile, her warm and gentle as it has always been. It's only as her thumb crosses my cheek, wiping away a single drop of moisture, that I realize that this is all I've ever wanted. For what feels like the first time, I give an earnest, wide smile, and Lily feels it against her palm. She returns the gesture. More time passes before either of us say a word, neither of us needing speech to communicate our feelings to each other. I know I can't promise you that I'll always be around, or that we'll be together forever. With some difficulty, I slowly lift my hand, placing it on her pale shoulder. But I think I can at least take you to next year's Tanabata festival to make up for making you miss this year's. Lily's expression is one of surprise, though I can't say I blame her. You remembered that? I've got a pretty good memory. Sometimes. Thank God they put the sometimes in there. She raises her head a little and takes her hand from my cheek. Giving a small amused giggle, I smile absent-mindedly as how earnest it is, almost girlish in its lightness. Still smiling warmly, she collects herself and stands upright, with a hand resting on my chest. It feels like I'm seeing her for the first time, the sun from the window glowing behind her. Just as it did when I first walked into that room and she was drinking tea. Very well then. Shall we make it a promise between the both of us to go next year to Tanabata together? Even if she can't see me doing so, I nod approvingly. I promise. I promise. Is that it? I think we beat the video game. Aww. Well, isn't that just sweet? Aww. What a really nice written path. I will state, it was a little predictable. But it had me going there for just a second that she wasn't going to return. But if you guys remember, she did tilt her head. That he had seen her tilt her head before he went down. So she must have learned about him very, very quickly. I wonder if there's some after credit stuff. Or is that it? Was the promise the last thing? Thank you, Four Leaf Studios. You done good. Oh, there's after credit stuff. Akira, Lilly, and I silently sit on the grassy embankment high above the local town, the breeze gently blowing through the cloudless sky. We may be just a few minutes' walk from town, on a hill just outside its limits, but the view is entirely unexpected. Lily sits behind me, her eyes closed, as the gentle breeze flows through her hair. This is a nice area. Yeah, I never knew a place like this was anywhere near Yamaku. And I had to be the one to find it, of course. Akira's grin is genuine, but her tone is slightly different from her usual carefree nature. It's good that you're out of the hospital, though, Hisao. Nobody's more glad than I am. I can't stand hospitals. So, you two going back to school tomorrow? Yep. Akira chuckles in amusement before looking back out to the town below, the trees between the buildings swaying in the wind. Pity we couldn't go up north for the summer holidays, or get to Tanabata. I wouldn't worry. There's always next year. You'll be graduating before the next summer vacation, won't you? Yeah, there'll still be college after that, might. Going to the same one? Likely. We both had high enough scores to meet the entry requirements. You sound so sure. Don't worry, you're better than I in most subjects. I guess we'll be working it out in due time. That's the way. Just enjoy ourselves in Yamaku while you're here. It gives a sad sigh at the distinction made between Akira and the two of us. Do you really need to go back to Scotland? Yeah, the folks are already out, for my blood as it is. You weren't meant to stay this long? She gives her trademark wide grin. Setting my boyfriend up with a passport took some time. You're taking him with you? Just for a while at first. He's a surprisingly worldly guy, so I think he'll do just fine. Not only are we back together with our girlfriend, Akira is able to get back together with her boyfriend. That's great. Happy ending. Akira gives an amused snort. If our father had his way, I'd have gone a long while ago. I just couldn't pass up an excuse to stay with my favorite little sister a little while longer, though. She leans right and gives Lily a tight, playful hug, cheering her up considerably. It's nice to be with you one last time, though. For what it's worth, I'm in the same boat. Heh, thanks, you two. I'll try to come back sometime, don't worry. It's a shame that the business keeps you so busy. The place won't run itself, I'm afraid, and I think it's going to be just the same over there. Considering that, I better get going. Have fun over there, Akira. Haha, will do. With a slight grunt, she lifts herself with her hands and stands up, dusting herself off as she does so. Well, I better be off. The plane won't wait for me, after all. She gives a certain unusual wistfulness to the tone in her voice, her eyes firmly planted on her sister. I'll be okay, Akira. Yeah, I know. Come now, it isn't that bad. You'll be able to see us again soon. It is strange to have Lilly reassuring a doubting Akira for once. She really has changed. Goodbye, Akira. Bye. For a second, the dark-clad figure looks down at the both of us, smiling wildly, perhaps more wildly than I've ever seen her do so before. She lets out a long, slightly wavering breath to steady herself before leaving, but eventually slips her hand into her pockets and turns on her heel. And with that, she walks away, one hand held in the air as she goes. See you later, you two! A jazz tune with no beat, melody, or direction to the very end. After a few moments of sitting silently, Lilly and I pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off. Turning towards her with a broad smile, I hold out my hand. Shall we be off then? She takes my hand in hers with a gentle nod and a smile as beautiful and warm as ever. Indeed we shall, Hisao. As we set off towards the school, that wonderful smile engraved itself onto my memory, that wonderful smile that we both share. Our past may be scattered and at times overshadowed by sadness, but they're also an irrevocable part of our lives and personalities. Even if I could change a single thing, I wouldn't. Because my past was what led me here. That's why, even with all that's happened to us before, and all that may well befall us, together we'll keep walking forward. Forward, towards the future. Our future. And that, as we say, is that. So thank you oh so very much for watching my playthrough of Katawa Shoujo. I'm going to be taking a little break from Katawa Shoujo for now. We'll sort of let it ride the waves. I'll upload a couple of different LPs for a while, but don't fret. I will be back at some point. So if you follow me on Twitter, you can rest assured that I will post a poll on who the girl you would like me to follow next will be. Links obviously are in the description down below. And I hope that you guys had a wonderful journey just as much as I did. So take care, guys. Stay frosty, and good night.